Okay, good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to start by introducing again Commodore Peter Levy, the commander of the military task force that's doing all the great search work out at sea. Bob Armstrong from the ATSB, and Mike Barton from AMSA. Over on the left, we also have our subject matter expert on underwater salvage and rescue, and that's Captain Matthews from the US Navy. He will be available for one-on-one interviews at the end of the press conference. Well, good afternoon. Yesterday I outlined a number of leads we were pursuing in relation to the search of the missing Malaysian Airlines flight MH370. Namely, the electronic pulse signals detected by the Chinese ship Haixun 01 and an acoustic noise being pursued by the Australian defence vessel Ocean Shield in her current location. I stated that the Ocean Shield would be delayed from going to the approximate area where the Haixun 01 had detected the signals while she continued her own investigations. Today I can report some very encouraging information which has unfolded over the last 24 hours. The towed pinger locator deployed from the Australian defence vessel Ocean Shield has detected signals consistent with those emitted by aircraft black boxes. Two separate signal detections have occurred within the northern part of the defined search area. The first detection was held for approximately 2 hours and 20 minutes. The ship then lost contact before conducting a turn and attempting to reacquire the signal. The second detection on the return leg was held for approximately 13 minutes. On this occasion, two distinct pinger returns were audible. Significantly, this would be consistent with transmissions from both the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. Clearly, this is a most promising lead, and probably in the search so far, it's probably the best information that we have had. And again, I would ask all of you to treat this information cautiously and responsibly until such time as we can provide an unequivocal determination. We haven't found the aircraft yet. We need further confirmation. And I really stress this, it's very important. Ocean Shield remains in the immediate area and continues to try and regain contact with the towed pinger locator. To this point, it has not been able to reacquire the signals. There are many steps yet before these detections can be positively verified as being from missing flight MH370. Firstly, we need to fix the position. Then the Ocean Shield can lower the autonomous underwater vehicle Bluefin 21 into the water and attempt to locate wreckage on the sea floor. Another source of evidence such as wreckage would verify this lead. The area in which the signals have been received has a depth of approximately 4,500 metres. This is also the limit of capability of the autonomous underwater vehicle. I need to be honest with you. It could take some days before the information is available to establish whether these detections can be confirmed as being from MH370. In very deep oceanic water, nothing happens fast. Of course, I will update you once we have an unequivocal determination. Ocean Shield will stay in its current area until such time as it can verify or discount the detections as being from MH370. Work continues by Ocean Shield to refine the pinger detection location. We will continue to follow a methodical and carefully planned process of investigation to verify or discount. A few words about today's search. Up to 9 military aircraft, 3 civil aircraft and 14 ships will assist in today's search. The search area is around 234,000 square kilometres. Good weather is expected throughout the day with showers in the afternoon, although this is not a feature. Again, I thank all the men and women assisting in the search effort, including military personnel from around the world, volunteers.
We're having a problem there with the press conference and
The efforts of everyone involved are deeply appreciated. At yesterday's media conference, I said I would come back to you on some relevant matters. The Chinese ship Haishun 01 was on the southern extremity of the search area when it first detected a pulse signal. Let me say a few words about the search area, and I'm going to refer to a map which will be available on the net following this conference. Now, you might all recall the analysis by the expert team that I referred to, I think 3 or 4 days ago. This was the analysis of the satellite signals and the aircraft simulation work, and what that revealed was there were a series of arcs which signified where each exchange or handshake occurred between the satellite and the aircraft. The 6th exchange is represented by this line here. A short time after the 6th exchange, there was another exchange with a slightly different signal. This was a matter of, I think, about 8 minutes after the 6th ping. And the expert team consider this as very significant. They think something happened at that stage, and we assess that that's about where the aircraft would have run out of fuel. Now, the search area is the underwater search area, which is reflected here. It's the area where the aircraft might have entered the water, is reflected by these boxes here. Do not worry about the other search areas because the aircraft have been looking for wreckage on the surface and have been taking account of 30 days of oceanic drift. But the satellite has essentially given us this area here as the most likely place where MH370 entered the water. Now, what's significant about this is that yesterday, or a couple of days ago, Haishun 01 had its encounter with the electronic pulse in this location here. Ocean Shield is currently working up in this location there. So all of the search underwater is being enabled by that wonderful work that was done by the expert team in Kuala Lumpur. And their work has enabled us to come up with an underwater search area which is quite narrowly focused, and with the acoustic events that we're getting in the area, we are encouraged that we're very close to where we need to be. So I just put that on the table because people have asked the question, and I think we need to explain it. And what's the difference between this end of the box and that end of the box? It's the assumptions that relate to the aircraft speed. If the aircraft was travelling slower than normal. It would be this area up here where the aircraft might have ended up. If the aircraft was travelling faster than perhaps normal, or a bit faster than here, it would end up in this area here. So that is why we are searching in this area here, and the most promising lead at this stage is the event I described first up with Ocean Shield in this location here. This graphic will be up on the net after this press conference. Yesterday I also stated Ocean Shield had a remotely operated vehicle on board. That is not the case. The capability embarked, and which I've already mentioned, is a Bluefin 21 autonomous underwater vehicle with a side-scan sonar capability for the accurate mapping of the seabed. And of course, it can also have a camera attached to it if the need arises. Ocean Shield is capable of carrying and employing a remote-operated vehicle, but does not currently have one embarked. Options for the future employment of a remote-operated vehicle are being collected and considered. I'm now happy to take your questions.
If the black box batteries were to die in the next day or so, do you feel that we're now close enough that you would be able to effectively find the wreckage of the plane if it is indeed there?
I think that the lead we've got at the moment justifies a very thorough prosecution. Obviously, we're doing the first thing we're doing is trying to fix the position on the basis of the returns, the transmissions that were picked up earlier on. Hopefully we will reacquire those transmissions, but you're right, the life of the batteries must be getting somewhere close to the end of life. It's, what, 31 days? So we're already 1 day past the advertised shelf life. We hope that it keeps going for a little bit longer, but then we need to go down, first of all, with the autonomous underwater vehicle to map the ocean floor. The subject matter expertise that's available will be able to determine if there's something unusual on the sea floor, like aircraft wreckage. And in the event of finding something unusual, the autonomous vehicle will come back to the surface and will then be fitted with a camera, and hopefully we would then be able to pick up imagery. Now, I stress this is very deep water, 4,500 metres, and the limitation on depth in terms of this vehicle is 4,500 metres. So we're right on the edge of capability, and we might be limited by the capability if, for example, the aircraft ended up in deeper water.
General, two questions. One is that possible, the signal detected by the Ocean Shield and the Chinese ship, belongs a different black box? The one belongs into the flight data recorder, another one belongs into the cockpit voice recorder. Another one question is, what's the moment we want to know? What's the moment for official confirming the PAL signal, consistent or inconsistent with the aircraft? It must be followed, reflotation?
In terms of both of those events, they're in the area of probability that was worked out by the experts in Kuala Lumpur. So we have to prosecute both contacts. We don't know at the moment. We don't have any confirmation that one or the other is significant enough for us to say, yes, this is where the aircraft is. We have to have further confirmation. And I would put it to you that we cannot confirm until we have found some wreckage. And that's why the work that the Bluefin 21, the work that it does, is absolutely vital in the immediate future. And of course we need a good position on the ocean floor to be able to prosecute a quick and efficient search. If we're dealing with an imprecise position, it's going to take a lot longer because we'll have to search a much larger area.
Mr. Houston, can you please clarify the timeline of the most recent detections by Ocean Shield, exactly when those signals were detected? And also, is it possible that the series of detections by Ocean Shield versus the series of detections by the Chinese, could they be from the same signal, or are they definitely different events and therefore one or the other would be it?
Well, the two events, that search area is over 300 nautical miles long. One was at one extremity, the other at the other extremity. So I would say unlikely that they're the same event. But in deep water, funny things happen with acoustic signals, particularly with different temperatures, layering and so on. And I might actually get Commodore Levy to speak about that in a moment. In terms of time frame, I don't think you were here yesterday, but I referred to the fact that just before the press conference we were starting to hear that Ocean Shield had made a contact, but we had no detail at that stage. And over the last 24 hours, and indeed probably for the next 24 hours, Ocean Shield will continue its runs back and forth over the area. I might add, this is a very time-intensive operation because it's towing a lot of cable, and to turn it round to come back again takes 3 hours to turn around.
Were the detections 24 hours ago?
Well, the detections, as I understand it, the first detections were around the middle of the night, not last night, night before.
And then how many, the frequency of?
There's been two contacts thus far, and they were early on in the process, and the precise timings I haven't got for you, but one of those contacts was for 2 hours and 20 minutes. The other contact happened on the second run, so we can get the precise time for you, but it was, I would suggest it's probably several hours later, given that it takes 3 hours to turn the whole setup round. And the other question you had, is that? I've answered it. Great. Yeah.
In terms of locating this, the pinger, I mean, how big of an area, I mean, how precise are you able to locate that area at this point? Is it within a couple of miles, or is it 100 miles? Or?
What I might do is ask one of the subject matter experts, Commodore Levy, to address your question. And you might just add a little bit on some of the challenges associated with the work that's being done underwater. Thanks, Peter.
I might just open with some of the challenges we face. As you've heard, most of all of the detections that are happening at the moment are acoustic. You can think of it essentially as deployed microphones listening for sound. And on the towed pinger locator, that's sitting approximately 3,000 metres below the surface of the ocean. Unlike in air, where sound travels in a straight line, acoustic energy, sound through the water, is greatly affected by temperature, pressure and salinity, and that has the effect of attenuating, bending, sometimes through 90 degrees, sound waves. So it is quite possible and very hard to predict. It's quite possible for sound to travel great distances laterally, but be very difficult to hear near the surface of the ocean, for instance. So it is a markedly different environment to what you see with sound travelling through air, and it's a very specialised skill set that is being employed at the moment. In terms of the towed pinger locator, we're expecting around a 2,000-yard detection range. So you can picture now moving 3 knots through the water, or 5 kilometres an hour, with a detection range of around 2 miles. That's a very small piece of area that's being searched. Ocean Shield at the moment is on a 5th leg of a search that's an expanding square around that initial detection point. That will take, or she will continue on that profile for another 24 hours. If they gain another acoustic event on that towed pinger locator, that will be the trigger at the moment to launch the autonomous underwater vehicle with a more accurate sonar and potentially camera for mapping and visually looking at the ocean floor. But at the moment that's not deployed. The focus is on trying to reacquire the acoustic signal that they had 24 hours ago. In terms of area, by the end of tomorrow, when they've completed their runs, they expect to have a 3 by 3 mile box searched. So it is quite a small area that will be searched very thoroughly, but it is a very small area, and that gives, I hope, some sense of the challenges that they're facing out there. Keep in mind, each of the runs that they conduct is around 7 miles long, with the turn at the end, and it takes quite some time, around 7 to 8 hours to do each leg and do the turn at the end. They need to steady on the new course and allow the towed pinger to complete the turn and settle down. So it is a very, very slow and painstaking process. We have the best in the world out there doing it though. So we're confident that if there is the pinger out there and it's still radiating, we're quite confident that we should find it. We've got the best in the world engaged in this task. So, thank you very much.
I'm not sure who's best to answer this, but when we're talking about acoustic signals with a frequency consistent with those emitted by a black box, what else could it be at that frequency?
Well, I think we just have to be very, very careful because we need to confirm it, in my view, with imagery of wreckage.
I take that point. Is there anything in the natural world that emits?
I don't. You know, my view is, my personal view is, probably not. But as you've just heard, strange things do happen in the ocean, and I would want more confirmation before we say this is it. The point is that this correlates very well with the work that was done in Kuala Lumpur, and you know, essentially this has been done without finding any wreckage thus far, and I think it's quite extraordinary. And what I'd like to see now is us find some wreckage, because that will basically help solve the mystery. And I would ask you to respect that, because fundamentally, without wreckage, we can't say it's definitely here. We've got to go down and have a look, and hopefully we'll find it somewhere in the area that we've narrowed to.
How optimistic are you at this point?
Well, I'm much more optimistic than I was a week ago, and some of you saw me a week ago. I was really concerned because we hadn't found any wreckage, which is usually, I think, in most other searches of this nature, the narrowing of the search area and the eventual finding of the downed aircraft has been enabled by wreckage on the surface. Just wait a minute. And essentially, this, to my knowledge, right in the middle of the ocean, this is quite an extraordinary set of circumstances that we're now in a very well-defined search area, which hopefully will eventually yield the information that we need to say MH370 might have entered the water just here.
You mentioned
Yeah.
I think you said there were two distinct pinging returns reportable, potentially from this black target.
Yeah.
Did you get a sense?
Yeah.
Did you get a sense of how far apart those two distinct pinging returns were?
I'll get the subject matter expert to have a word. I've heard what we've got is we've got a visual indication on a screen, and we've also got an audible signal, and the audible signal sounds to me just like an emergency locator beacon. And what we're talking about, there were two separate pingers. So what we're probably looking at on the second run is the fact that we probably had not only the main emergency locator beacon, but also the cockpit voice recorder. If that's, you know, that's the sort of signals we were getting. Do you want to say any more on that?
Thanks, sir. My understanding is they were around 2,000 yards, just under 2,000 yards apart. Of note, the first detection was made whilst the towed pinger locator had been retracted, so it was much shallower. The reason they do that is at the end of each turn, as the ship turns around, Ocean Shield reverses course. If they don't retract the towed pinger, the effective movement through the water slows down, the pinger will sink. Because the effective ship movement is reduced. So it's brought up close to the surface. That also helps speed up the turn, and once they're around, it's then deployed fully again. So the first detection was obtained whilst the towed pinger locator was at a relatively shallow depth, and given that it's within about 1,800 yards to 2,000 yards, the two detections, that would be consistent with the sound anomalies that I mentioned before, the different propagation paths. So it's quite possible that even though they assess it to be within around 1,800 yards apart, it's quite possible that it could actually be from the same source on the seabed.
In case you are unable to reacquire the acoustic signal, what would be your next course of action?
Well, we're very focused at the moment on exhausting the investigation into that source. And that's going to take quite some considerable period of time. For example, for the rest of the day, I would imagine, and probably into tomorrow, we will still be doing towed pinger runs over this area. Now, when that's finished, probably the next thing would be to, let's say if we find we're able to fix the location, we will send the autonomous underwater vehicle straight down. If we're unable to fix the location, the people who are out there have to do an analysis of everything they've got and make an assessment as to whether they would deploy the underwater vehicle to go down and have a look in the most likely area. So I would anticipate that's what will happen. The underwater vehicle will be deployed and will continue the work. And just to emphasise again, if we have a large area of uncertainty, it will take several days to actually cover a fairly what would appear to be a fairly small area. Things happen very slowly at the depths that we're dealing with. Do you want to say any more about that? It's probably. I think that covers it.
And this the area, the designated search area, are there any waters that are deeper than 4,500 meters?
Absolutely. We are dealing with very deep water. Some of the water out there exceeds 5,000 metres, which is going to be very challenging and very demanding, and we will need other vehicles to go down there to that depth.
So far, you can see. I just want to know.
Found on Saturday by the Chinese.
Sorry, could we? This gentleman here first,
So far, we
please.
can see that you got some useful information by the ship search. Does it mean you will reduce the aircraft search in the future?
No, not at all. Not at all, because I mentioned the need to find wreckage. We have not seen any wreckage at all yet, and I think in previous incidents, accidents involving aircraft over the water, sometimes quite a big piece of wreckage is found in the water. Witness what happened with the Air France disaster a few years ago. The only large piece of wreckage that was found on the surface was actually the tail. So I think we need to continue the search. And again, I emphasise, this is not the end of the search. We've still got a lot of difficult, painstaking work to do to confirm that this is indeed where the aircraft entered the water. I would not be prepared to confirm that this is the spot where the aircraft is at the present on the present evidence. We need more evidence, and the best evidence we could find is imagery from the autonomous vehicle that suggests the wreckage is on the bottom of the ocean, and a photograph that demonstrates that, and we can then say this is where the aircraft entered the water and the wreckage is on the floor of the ocean.
If you were to find that wreckage on the floor of the ocean, what would be the next step?
Well, we then go into the recovery operation, and the recovery operation, as we saw with the Air France circumstances, will take a long, long time, and just depending on the circumstances, I'm not prepared to speculate about that. We would need to. The starting point will be to sort of map where wreckage is and all the rest of it, and that will take a period of time, and that will be the vital starting point for whatever unfolds after that. But it's very deep water, very difficult. I guess I was involved as Chief of the Defence Force with the recovery of a helicopter off the coast of Fiji. We knew exactly where the helicopter went into the water, and it took us a long, long time to recover the Black Hawk and the person who was inside it. So I just emphasise nothing will happen quickly. We're talking about a long operation here which will be measured in months, and we have yet to find the aircraft. Okay? One more question and I'll take it over here.
Is there an update in regards to the white floating objects that were found by
Yes. Apparently they've been checked out, and they have no relationship to MH370. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming today, and I'm sorry, we could be here all day. Thank you very much for coming along, and again I stress
Dan itu tadi sidang media daripada Angus Houston dan juga Commodore Peter Levy daripada JACC membincangkan tentang operasi mencari MH370, dan kita akan berhenti berehat seketika. Kembali selepas ini saya akan cuba rangkumkan apa yang berlaku dalam sidang media tersebut. Kembali selepas ini.